Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 74, The Armed Detective Agency and the Angel of Death. If the police were to intervene, the situation would naturally be exposed, and the children would, of course, be taken under their protection. Oda Sakanosuke wouldn't even need to persuade them. It would be like they were moving into Komaeda Nagito's house, and each one of them obediently agreed. But, could those bad guys storm the police station? No, they won't be able to get into the police station. Oda Sakanosuke looked at the children, fully awake and full of energy, and the grim expression he had initially wore softened. Kazami Yuya, who was in charge of arranging this task, stood against the wall without saying anything. He could only watch as Oda Sakanosuke interacted with the children, murmuring quietly to himself. I almost thought he was going to kill someone. If the police intervened, then the relevant individuals would naturally have to be thoroughly investigated. As for Komaeda Nagito, nothing was mentioned for now, while Oda Sakanosuke's past record as a hitman caused quite a lot of reflection. He had once been to the police station, but was bailed out by the president of the Armed Detective Agency, Fukuzawa Yukichi. After that, there had been no record of him killing anyone again. The intelligence gathered also indicated a refusal to kill. After reviewing the information, the higher-ups seemed impressed by his reform, having given up his past as a killer to live a difficult life and still raise children. He is even switching career to be an author. Kazami Yuya was instructed to observe and, if deemed trustworthy, to recruit him, since, in the Port Mafia, Oda Sakanosuke was just a bottom-tier member. This time, he had narrowly escaped being cannon fodder, so the higher-ups felt that the police would be stronger competitors. The moment Kazami Yuya saw Oda Sakanosuke, he felt that his hitman instincts had probably not vanished, that killer might just end up going back to his old ways. Letting Oda Sakanosuke spend some time with his friends, he eavesdropped the conversation between Komaeda Nagito and him, as well as what was said over the phone. Only then did he feel reassured that Oda Sakanosuke could indeed control himself. Upon returning, the menacing aura Oda Sakanosuke had carried seemed to fade away. Now, watching him chat with the children again, he seemed just like a normal father, not much different from any other parent. After chatting with the children, it was time for the police to have a private discussion with Oda Sakanosuke. Faced with the recruitment offer, Oda Sakanosuke said he needed some time to think about it since he wasn't interested in continuing in that line of work and wanted more time to write. Although he needed a stable income to support the children, the work demands of the police, with their constant overtime, were not really suitable for him. Alright, take your time, Kazami Yuya sighed. Besides, you were bailed out by the president of the Armed Detective Agency back then, but you never actually joined the agency, right? An organization like the police, it might be even less appealing. However, Oda Sakanosuke was confused for a moment. The president of the Armed Detective Agency? Kazami Yuya was stunned. You didn't know? Ah, I know now, Oda Sakanosuke replied, looking as though something had dawned on him. Kazami Yuya started sweating. Oh no, did he accidentally reveal something he shouldn't have? After all, with Dazai Osamu keeping a close eye, Oda Sakanosuke, despite sometimes seeming naive, wouldn't agree to just anything easily. In the end, the police only proceeded with their prior agreement with Dazai Osamu, promising to handle the adoption procedures for the children. As for Oda Sakanosuke's record, if he didn't intend to join the police, they certainly weren't going to clean it up for free. Dazai Osamu had no objections to this. Not long after Oda Sakanosuke and Komaeda Nagito returned home to Yokohama, Dazai Osamu also made his way back. Dazai Osamu glanced at Komaeda Nagito but didn't ask anything. After all, he already knew all the details from the police and Oda Sakanosuke. He sprawled lazily on the sofa and sighed. So, Oda-saku, what's your next plan? With the police involved, I can help cover things up with Boss Mori if need be. After all, you originally had nothing to do with the police. If you don't want to be labeled a traitor, just claim you didn't know anything. Being branded a traitor by the Port Mafia was no joke. Even though Dazai Osamu didn't particularly care, Oda Sakanosuke still had children to raise. It would be best to find a safe way out, otherwise, things would get complicated. When Dazai Osamu got in touch with the police, he didn't suggest that they directly take the children into protection to keep them out of Mimic's reach. His main concern was ensuring Oda Sakanosuke's safe escape. After all, there was no guarantee Mimic could actually find where the children were hidden, and if he openly involved the police, it might very well have the opposite effect. But now that the secret's out, Oda-saku, you should probably think about what to do next. Dazai Osamu hugged a cushion, complaining, Boss Mori definitely won't let you go now. He thinks you're quite useful, especially if you're willing to kill. He won't let that go. Oda Sakanosuke nodded. Although I'm really angry, it's not to the point of killing anyone. Dazai Osamu glanced in Komaeda Nagito's direction. Due to the unexpected car explosion, Oda-saku still thought Mimic was merely trying to kidnap the kids. In his mind, Mimic's goal was to tie them up and then kill them in front of him, ensuring that he would kill in return. But this misunderstanding wasn't necessarily bad, better for Oda-saku to keep thinking that way. Komaeda Nagito, sensing Dazai Osamu's gaze, spoke up with determination, if Oda-san can peacefully write, then all this chaos should disappear. I think the same way. Dazai Osamu nodded deeply. Oda-saku is just too nice, and Boss Mori really has some nerve. Even after receiving a formal resignation letter, he can still pretend nothing happened. Not that he ever expected the resignation to succeed. Dazai Osamu just wanted to vent at Mori Ogai. Oda Sakanosuke, however, found this quite normal. Though you made me submit it directly, Dazai, I couldn't refuse. It's not like the other assignments, this time it was to find Ongo. Ah. The atmosphere suddenly grew tense. The expression on Dazai Osamu's face vanished. Realizing he had said something wrong, Oda Sakanosuke looked a bit bewildered and turned to Komaeda Nagito, hoping for some assistance. As if that momentary lapse had never happened, Dazai Osamu returned to his usual lazy smile. About Ongo, Komaeda-kun, you know, right? Yes, Komaeda Nagito mused, it was a bit unexpected, but also makes sense. What makes sense? Dazai Osamu was surprised. Could it be that Komaeda-kun realized Ongo was a spy before he did? Though Komaeda-kun was smart, Dazai Osamu doubted that he could be better at reading people than himself. Well, Sakaguchi-san always seemed like he couldn't sleep well. I even thought the Port Mafia's treatment of its workers might be too much, Komaeda Nagito said thoughtfully. If he's a triple agent, that makes a lot of sense. I never imagined he'd be a spy, but it would explain why he's always tired. Otherwise, the difficulty of being a triple agent wouldn't be justified. Dazai Osamu. Completely disconnected from any emotions. Thanks for that. The atmosphere eased up a bit, and Oda Sakanosuke finally found a new topic thanks to Komaeda Nagito buying some time. Speaking of which, I learned something new from the police today. Oh. I was once bailed out. The person who bailed me out is now the president of the Armed Detective Agency. Oda Sakanosuke paused. Dazai, you asked me what my plan was earlier, didn't you? I've heard a little about the Armed Detective Agency's reputation. What do you think about me joining them after resigning from the Mafia? I wonder what their entry requirements are. If possible, Oda Sakanosuke would love to live a relaxed life as a writer. However, to start with, finding a stable income source with better benefits seemed like a good transition. It could effectively prevent some troublesome situations. Dazai Osamu sighed, you might as well move to Tokyo then. The children are more used to Yokohama. I want to take things slowly, and all the people I know are here in Yokohama. Oda Sakanosuke suddenly remembered something. Ah, I want some curry. But at this hour, the shop's probably closed. Are you really thinking about curry now? Dazai Osamu complained. Fine, the Armed Detective Agency might actually be a good fit for you. You can try it after you resign. But for now, let's deal with Mimic first. Having them buzzing around is really annoying. Still haven't found their headquarters? If it's a matter of combat strength, I can help. Oda Sakamosuke only incapacitated opponents without killing them, but that was actually fine. Even if you haven't, Oda Saku, you don't need to worry about it. Just tell Boss Mori that you're still investigating if he asks, nothing more. It was clear that Dazai-Osamu's opinion of Mori Ogai was at an all-time low right now. Just as Oda Sakamosuke was about to say something, Dazai-Osamu suddenly made a silent gesture and motioned for Oda Sakamosuke to look to the side. Following his direction, Oda Sakamosuke noticed that at some point, Komaeda Nagito, without a sound, had closed his eyes and was leaning against the sofa, asleep. The coat Dazai-Osamu had casually thrown on the sofa when they entered was now being used by Komaeda Nagito, who had likely felt a bit cold and pulled it over himself. Oda Sakamosuke suddenly realized. After everything that happened today, both physically and mentally, everyone was exhausted. The kid managed to get some sleep, but he himself had been pushing on, staying alert until they finally got home. Dazai-Osamu stealthily got up, carefully lifted Komaeda Nagito, who was around the same height as him, and carried him to the bedroom. He returned a moment later. Alright, where were we? Oda Sakamosuke. Well, he had said everything he needed to. Should he take this chance to leave now? When Komaeda Nagito woke up the next day, Dazai-Osamu and Oda Sakamosuke were nowhere to be found. His phone had a message from Dazai-Osamu, telling him to focus on recuperating. If he needed to go to the hospital for a checkup, he should go. As for the mimic issue, while they had discussed it, he wasn't expected to do anything, he should just enjoy his summer break. After reading the message, Komaeda Nagito couldn't help but sigh. Was my idea to step in really that obvious? Well, as Dazai-kun said, it would be pretty easy to figure out. If Komaeda Nagito asked, Dazai-Osamu would honestly tell him, yes, it was quite obvious. However, considering what Komaeda Nagito knew, Dazai-Osamu thought he probably wouldn't do anything drastic, so he decided not to worry. In truth, Komaeda Nagito did need some help right now. Without knowing the location of the mimic headquarters, any plan would be impossible to start. After making some preparations, Komaeda Nagito dialed Kudo Shinichi's number. Komaeda-senpai. Kudo Shinichi's surprised voice came over the phone. It's rare for you to call me. Is there something going on? Kudo-kun, I have a commission I'd like to give to the Armed Detective Agency. Huh? Is it about a case? Can you let me take a look first? Kudo Shinichi's voice suddenly became excited. Komaeda Nagito hesitated. Kudo-kun, I'd really like to believe in you, but I don't think this is something suited for you. Just tell me what it is, senpai. It's about an organization called Mimic. Mimic? Just then, a voice that didn't belong to Kudo Shinichi came from the other end. Hey, assistant, where's Ranpo-sama's soda ramen? Sorry. Kudo Shinichi quickly said, my senpai might have a commission. Finding Mimic headquarters? That's pretty tough for an assistant. The voice, which referred to itself as Ranpo-sama, spoke between chewing noises. What's your senpai's connection to the port mafia? Kudo Shinichi was bewildered. Huh? Why? Wait a minute, does that mean, Ranpo-san, you're going to take the case? Ranpo-sama isn't interested. Komaeda Nagito sighed, raising his voice slightly. Kudo-kun, are you at the agency right now? I'll head over and we can talk in person. It sounded like Kudo Shinichi, busy as he was, had no choice but to agree hurriedly. Alright, Ranpo-san shouldn't be going out this morning, I'll wait for you here, senpai. After confirming that the bandages on his head were secure, Komaeda Nagito grabbed his crutch, hobbled on his less convenient right leg, and stood at his front door waiting for a cab. In no time, the taxi brought him to the Armed Detective Agency's building. Komaeda Nagito got out of the car, looked up at the building, and was about to head inside when suddenly a server from the first-floor cafe came running over. Excuse me, are you Komaeda Nagito? Komaeda Nagito was stunned but still smiled. Yes, that's me. Is there something you need? Someone asked me to deliver this letter to you. The server handed him an envelope. Thank you. Although slightly confused, Komaeda Nagito took it. Who was the person who asked you to deliver this? It was a customer who just left. He said if I saw a young man with a crutch and white hair, I should hand it over. While opening the letter, Komaeda Nagito asked, what did he look like, do you remember? He looked kind of sleep-deprived, had heavy dark circles. Also wore a strange hat, but, the server blushed. He was really handsome, had a nice voice, and even gave me a generous tip. Are you two not acquainted? No, I know him. Komaeda Nagito quickly read the contents of the letter, his eyes growing brighter. Thank you, this is exactly what I needed, a huge help. Judging by the server's description, the person who gave him the letter was likely the one he had met before. Although he didn't understand how the other party could gauge the timing so well, or how they knew he was coming to the armed detective agency, this letter truly came just in time. The server, remembering the work still waiting at the cafe, quickly excused herself. After reading the short letter a few more times, Komaeda Nagito folded it and put it in his pocket, then proceeded into the building as planned. When the elevator opened, the entire floor belonged to the armed detective agency. Komaeda Nagito heard the clamor inside and knocked on the door. Kudo Shinichi answered the door. The moment Kudo Shinichi opened it, he was surprised. Oh my god, senpai, you look worse than before. Does it have anything to do with Mimic? Komaeda Nagito gave a wry smile. Ha, I was attacked yesterday. I just heard that it's a terrorist group. How did you get tangled up with them? Kudo Shinichi, both worried and bewildered, led Komaeda Nagito inside. Ah, that over there is Ranpo-san, but he doesn't take on the usual cases, so you'll have to talk to me first. After Komaeda Nagito was led to the reception area and seated, he took out his phone, checked it, and set it aside. Simply put, I want the agency to help me find the location of Mimic's headquarters. Senpai. Kudo Shinichi gave him a wary look. What are you planning to do? Judging by Kudo Shinichi's expression, it was clear he suspected Komaeda Nagito intended to do something reckless. Sorry, I'd rather not say. Kudo-kun, do you usually ask clients so many questions? Kudo Shinichi, feeling slightly stung. Kunikita Dalpo, who had been keeping an eye on Kudo Shinichi, saw him hesitate and hurried over to intervene. Let me take over. This is Komaeda Nagito, Kudo Shinichi supplied. Alright, Komaeda-san. Kunikita Dalpo, full of professional demeanor, asked, this kind of search request, it's best if there's a lot of information. Also, considering the danger level of an organization like Mimic. 100 million. Sorry. Komaeda Nagito said, what I mean is, the commission fee is 100 million, and the information. Ah, one moment. He noticed a new email notification on his phone, immediately picked it up, and opened his inbox. Kunikita Dalpo turned his head, whispering to Kudo Shinichi, did he just say 100 million? Kudo Shinichi slowly nodded, senpai, isn't lacking in money. After quickly reading the email, Komaeda Nagito looked up and continued, I also have the information. Give me an email address, and I can forward it to you. Before deciding to come to the armed detective agency, Komaeda Nagito had first contacted Edgar Allan Poe to see if, given his position in the guild, he could gather any intelligence. Edgar Allan Poe recommended the guild's intelligence officer, who happened to be in Yokohama at the moment. The response from the intelligence officer was swift. Although they could investigate, they were currently too busy with more pressing matters and could only do a favor for Komaeda Nagito as a personal favor to Edgar Allan Poe, at a discounted price. If Komaeda Nagito needed the information urgently, he would need to consolidate some scraps of intelligence about Mimic and provide them. When Komaeda Nagito asked how long it would take to locate Mimic's headquarters, the officer couldn't give a definite answer due to their busy schedule and suggested he seek help elsewhere, specifically, the Armed Detective Agency. Thus, Komaeda Nagito decided to come here. The email just received was from the intelligence officer, who had sent the consolidated information. Komaeda Nagito waved his phone. The intelligence officer I commissioned has just sent me the information. Edogawa Ranpo suddenly appeared, sitting beside Komaeda Nagito, who didn't seem to notice when he arrived. He picked up Komaeda Nagito's phone and looked at the open screen, which hadn't been locked. Ah, I see. After a while, Edogawa Ranpo turned to Komaeda Nagito. But, you're not just here at the Armed Detective Agency for this, are you? Hahaha, as expected of the great detective, you easily saw through me, didn't you? Actually, my initial purpose was just one, but I got a new idea after receiving a letter downstairs. Komaeda Nagito pulled out a letter from his pocket, smiling slyly. There's also another request. I wanted to ask Dr. Yosano of your agency to cure me. Kunikida Dalpo tensed up suddenly. Kudo Shinichi, confused, asked, Senpai, if you want treatment, isn't going to the hospital better? That's too slow. Yosano-sensei is an ability user. Her treatment will be much quicker. True. Kudo Shinichi had been interning here for quite a while, so of course, he knew Yosano Akiko was an ability user. But he didn't know the details well. He looked curiously at the overly tense Kunikida Dalpo. Senior, can we take this request? Of course not. Kunikida Dalpo replied, we're a detective agency, not a hospital. Komaeda Nagito laughed, if you're worried I won't be able to meet the treatment conditions, rest assured, I have no objections whatsoever. Edogawa Ranpo narrowed his eyes. You know the conditions for Akiko's ability to activate and still want to make this request? Give me the letter. I wasn't entirely sure, but seeing your reactions confirmed it. Komaeda Nagito handed the letter to Edogawa Ranpo. It's about Dr. Yosano's ability, and about her past in the military, where she was called the Angel of Death. I don't agree. Yosano Akiko had initially come over to the reception area just to see why even Edogawa Ranpo was there, only to overhear something that stirred her worst memories. You should go. Your injuries aren't serious at all, just take good care of yourself for a while, and you'll be fine. There's no need to make this requests. We won't take this kind of request. Are you Dr. Yosano? Komaeda Nagito wasn't affected at all by Yosano Akiko's cold words. He looked sincere and enthusiastic. Are you concerned about my health? Thank you, really. Actually, I know resting would work too, but my leg is really inconvenient right now, and it affects my movement, so I hoped you could help me. It's summer vacation now. If it's just about walking, wouldn't resting at home suffice? Edogawa Ranpo interrupted, he wants to go find the mimic headquarters. It's indeed inconvenient with injuries like these. Yosano Akiko's face darkened. You want me to heal you so you can go get yourself killed? Not happening. Ranpo, you can't take his request either. Edogawa Ranpo stood up, alright then, Ranpo-sama is going to get some snacks. But mimic caused trouble for my friend. Komaeda Nagito was still trying to persuade them. That has nothing to do with you, leave it to the police. Yosano Akiko said firmly, for minor injuries like this, just go to the hospital. So, it's because my injuries are too light that Dr. Yosano doesn't want to accept the request? Komaeda Nagito sighed, if that's the case, I understand. Yosano Akiko had a vague feeling that something was wrong. What? Komaeda Nagito took out a gun from his coat and aimed it at his chest. Stop him! Yosano Akiko shouted. Kudo Shinichi, who was sitting across from Komaeda Nagito, instinctively lunged forward to stop him. But before he could make contact, a gunshot rang out. Komaeda Nagito pulled the trigger. The red bloom of blood spread across his white shirt, quickly staining most of his clothes. Blood gushed from his mouth as he slumped back on the sofa, slowly sliding down. Senpai. Kudo Shinichi, trembling, pressed on the wound, trying to stop the bleeding, but could hardly speak. Cough, so. Komaeda Nagito coughed, smiling weakly, can you accept my request now? Yosano Akiko was almost frozen in shock. This guy, is he mentally ill or what? Chapter 74 End.